can talk about the tornadoes and the weird weather systems that we've been having, mainly flooding and rains and all that stuff, and then accompanied by water spouts or tornadoes. But deforestation, that seems to be an issue that where there's an unspoken rule, apparently, or seemingly, not to touch it. What do you all make of the fact that if we see these weather patterns, yes, we understand that cutting of trees is somewhat in there somehow part of the issue. Why is it that somehow this appears to be everybody's turning a blind eye to it? Every official, rather.
Levon, you take that first.
I'm not opposed to deforestation, Shanique. Sorry. Quite honestly, I hear the argument by Lincoln, Bain, and those. I don't think that it's a well thought out one. I hear them saying that the Haitians are cutting down the trees to sell coal to Haiti. That's actually stupid because Haitians export the coal out of Haiti. Who would they be sending the coal to in Haiti? That just wouldn't make sense. But I also hear them saying that, oh, when it rains in Haiti, the mud slides. Well, if you consider the way the land is composed, that'll also never happen in the Bahamas. The Bahamas is made up of limestone rock. It's not going to slide anywhere. What I am disappointed in, though, and what I had hoped to hear coming out of the argument, rather than all of this, rabble-rousing, is where we look into a logging industry, because get this, Shanique, the Bahamas is spread over 100,000 square miles of water, right? The country of the Bahamas collectively in island land mass is equivalent to that of Jamaica. Our population is 10% of Jamaica's population, and get this, Jamaica is grossly underpopulated. We occupy about 12% of the land mass around here as people. And if you go to anywhere like Grand Bahama, Abaco, or Andros, or even Western New Providence, you will find copious amounts of pine trees. What I'm saying is that the people of the Bahamas should benefit from the pine trees, but I think there are any number of industrial ways to do so. So when you say to me that, oh, we burning on the pine trees to send it and coal to Haiti, instantly I shut my brain off because that sounds like a scatterbrain idea that doesn't make sense to my brain. And I think that if the argument, Shanique, is sustainable removal of pine trees, then there's nothing to talk about. When we remove pine trees to build hotels, you think the earth knows that, oh my God, we're removing these pine trees for hotels, and as a consequence, we won't make the earth warmer? No. So when we move them for anything else, how does the earth know? The earth doesn't know.
I think the earth is aware when you remove them for anything. And the excessive amount of removal, Cassius, and this is really, I didn't even want to go into what Lincoln was pushing. My thing is when you hear environmentalists speak, when you understand that this prime minister in particular says, listen, climate change is having a real impact on the Bahamas and these surrounding countries in this region in a hurricane belt. Dorian was testament to that. The flooding, the this, the that, the other thing. The fact is, environmentalists have said that the removal of these trees, yes, I am not opposed to development, not opposed to progress. However, how do we balance this? How do we ensure that we are not going so fast? For example, how many hills does Nassau have anymore? It's all been mainly cut down for progress and for development. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. But certainly when you think about the fact that there is no higher ground available on the island, that is something also to take into consideration.
Well, when it comes to the environment, I think, you talk about sustainable development and the cutting down of trees. Environmentalists, I guess, define sustainable development as development which meets the needs of the present, but it doesn't compromise future generations of meeting their own needs. In other words, if we cut down so much land, it would displace future generations of using that same land or benefiting from the land. And so we have to weigh whether or not it's sustainable. And then also something called carrying capacity when you talk about environmental terms. So carrying capacity is when you remove so much the trees, it displaces other animals from using the same resources. And so the carrying capacity may be very high in that regard as well too. So it's not just the removing of trees that affect also animals and insects and other things that works in the ecosystem that we have to look at. That's almost on a micro level. But I think also too, I want to add something to this equation that when we're looking at, the greenhouse effect and when you're looking at the excessive amount of chlorofluorocarbons that in the air that's causing the greenhouse effect over the earth and creating a hole in the ozone layer, I think we are all scientists are saying that because we are low lying, we will have the negative impact on that. So China and all those industrial nations, we are asking them to cut those greenhouse emissions down so that, it don't swallow us up. And today, I could say that the Lake Cunningham is now flowing into the road in Westridge because, of course, the lake is now swollen. There's a lot of rain. Now, the question is, where do we go from here? How do we deal with all this? But, I also want to add another element to this. We deal with chlorofluorocarbons. We deal with greenhouse effect. I think also, too, what the earth is upset about, too, is human behavior. Not just to the earth, but human behavior to one another. And so when if you read, I read the Bible a lot. When you read the Bible, when you see human behavior acting abnormal and abnormal to each other, the earth itself gets upset.
Cassius, can I then invite you to don't drive from this studio? Could I also invite you to when you leave
to
here, not
tree.
lay down in your air-conditioned house?
I'm just laying it out.
Cassius,
yeah, but I'm saying
the chlorofluorocarbons used in air conditions, right? I know you need them. But what I'm saying
is a country, Cassius, that is burning diesel engines to power its major city, telling me that if I chop down 100,000 pine trees, that somehow that is of greater effect?
That doesn't affect us. No.
So how? So what about the thousands of gallons of diesels that we're dumping at Clifton? That isn't warming the planet any at all.
No, don't get me. We are so small. We are so small when you've been in the fingerprint of global warming that you could chop down all the trees in the Bahamas and won't affect.
This is what I just said.
You understand? So we are very, very small. It's not us. It's the industrial nations. China. Have you ever been to China before? China burns so much coal and so much carbon. You cannot see the sun in China.
And so, Cassius,
I've been to China for a week and I haven't seen the sun once.
Cassius, and what I'm saying to you is, I believe that as a country, right? Obviously, we're not going to get money from the bigger G7s or formerly G8 countries. I believe that
no carbon credits?
The Prime Minister is doing what he's doing on the international community, or on the international stage about that. What I'm saying is, logging is an industry that has been around from time immemorial and will go nowhere. There are some politicians that are from the College of Thought that there is such a thing as clean coal technology and that America is one of the major users of that technology. I'm saying the Bahamas, a country with 80+% of its land mass unoccupied by humans, has a massive pine reservoir and resource. They like to talk about natural resources. Everybody around here when we go 10,000 feet in the water to go get a ragonite that only Jesus knows if that's there or not. I have no clue. I could see the pine trees. Why have we not looked at sustainable logging, sustainable pine tree removal in and around this country? We like to have the booger man argument. They could cut down all the pine trees.
But in the 70s, we had Abaco pine. We had Abaco pine that had a logging company before.
Cassius and even, we want to see something being done. Now it appears as though nothing is being done and it's all anybody's game.
But fair-mongering cannot be, Shanique.
Well, then take ownership of the message.
Cannot be the way we direct policy.
I agree with you. And so therefore, take ownership of the message. Take ownership, partner with environmentalists, do the right thing as we fight toward having bigger nations recognize their responsibility in climate change and its impact on nations like the Bahamas. The Bahamas then, those in charge, those who were elected to create policy and protect the country must then now take ownership of the narrative.
So let us all in this studio agree that when we go home tonight, Shanique, and you may be the only person here that this doesn't affect, that we all are going to not turn on our air condition. Let every one of my good Christian people that watching me on TV decide that they are going to, at this moment, go cut your AC off.
I think you're taking it 2 steps further. I think you're taking it a step too far.
Then where do we end in this argument?
No, but you're taking it a step far. I think, but also you got to understand the balance between living trees and human beings. Remember now, we breathe out carbon monoxide, they breathe it in, and they give us oxygen. And so you can't cut them all down. You got to leave some there for us to breathe.
Sustainable log removal.
But I mean, at what point though? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it, but to what extent though?
Gentlemen, we can go at this all night. There are so many areas